Hi there, my name is Courage. You are welcome to our media sports. Do well and follow us across all social media handles, especially on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel and then give us any form of feedback. If you have any suggestion or any contributions, do well and then follow us on all social media handles. We are also live on TikTok and also Facebook. Share our content and then recommend us to more people for us to reach more numbers. I'm bringing you some disappointing and then also some promising facts about this whole World Cup. You know, the grand finale is upon us. Prior to the tournament, some teams gave us so much hope, very, very high hopes. But then when the tournament began, Charlie, they fell short along the line. These teams, I'll be giving you just three for now. Yeah, two from South America and then also one from Europe. To begin with, Ecuador. Ecuador, one team that I rated very, 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 very high. I had very, very high hopes in them, but then they just fell short suddenly. Round 32, they got knocked out. Ecuador, prior to the World Cup, the qualifying stages, they were second. Yes, they were ranked second, or they finished second in the whole South American qualification period. And then even prior to the qualifiers, they started the campaign with -3. So they started the World Cup qualifying campaign with -3 points, but then they didn't lose any particular game. They considered just 2 games all through to the finals and then also qualifying eventually to the World Cup itself. Their first game against Curacao, we thought they were going to put up a super performance. You know, the Ecuador, with the kind of players they had Caicedo, Valencia, their captain, Hincapié of Arsenal, and then also William Pacho of PSG. So in their field, they have some very, very good players that we thought were coming to light up the World Cup, but then suddenly they just fell short. Their first match against Curacao, the least country in the World Cup, they have a population of more than 500,000, less than 500,000. They faced them and then guess what? They drew that game, particular match. So after drawing against Curacao, they went in against Cote d'Ivoire, African team. Cote d'Ivoire, we thought, though Cote d'Ivoire are not a baggy side or that much of relatively a lesser team, but then we thought Ecuador with their Arsenals in their foes and then also with all the big name players, they were going to at least manage a win against Cote d'Ivoire, but then it couldn't happen. Cote d'Ivoire beat them. Last minute goal, that goal by Amad Diallo, I remember. Yes. So they played 2 games without a single win, amassing just a point. So going into their last group game, it was the game against Germany. You know, Germany of late hasn't been that late as well. So it was a game that was about to determine their fate in the World Cup. If they lost that game, they were going home. If they drew, they were going home. So all they had, the only option they had was to win. And then they managed to win that game as well, beating Germany 2-1, that historic win against Germany. So they eventually qualified into the round of 32, and then that was their last stop. Guess what? They met Mexico. Mexico, despite being the host nation, they've not been that country we rate when it comes to world football, especially looking at Ecuador's recent form or during the qualifiers, what they were able to showcase. We thought they were going to at least manage to bypass Mexico, but then at the long run, Mexico beat them and then eliminated them. So this is one of the teams that disappointed me the most. I had high hope in Ecuador prior to the World Cup, but then they ended up disappointing me. Second team has to do with another North American team. This time around, the greatest ever team when it comes to the World Cup. As far as the World Cup is concerned, there is no other greater team than Brazil. The almighty Brazil, they call them. So over the years, many of these African countries name themselves African of Brazil or the Brazil of Africa, meaning they want to emulate the feat Brazil have achieved in world football. But then Brazil in their first match against Morocco, they drew 1-1. We thought, okay, Morocco are a powerhouse as well. So maybe, lucky enough for them, they beat Haiti by 3-1. But then eventually got eliminated in the round of 16 against Norway. Yes, Norway, that Norwegian team. We'll talk about them later. But then Brazil got eliminated by Norway. Something that has never happened in the world of football before. Norwegian getting a result against Brazilians. But then, yes, that's what Brazil has been reduced to in recent years. So many Brazilians are asking, or football fans are asking, will Brazil continue with Don Carlo Ancelotti, or they'll just show him the exit door? This will come your way again another time for this particular discussion. But then the last team on my list, the third team, Netherlands, prior to the World Cup, I tipped them to go past the semi-finals. So meaning I was looking forward to seeing them in the World Cup finals. They were very, very flamboyant in their qualifying stage. They did very, very, very well. So their first game against Japan, they drew 2-2 with Japan. Okay, so we know Japan, they are not a team that you can just bully out on your way, or any just any small team that you can just suppress them. So 2-2, we said, okay, that was fine. So then they went ahead to wallop Sweden by 5-1. So meaning 4 points, meaning they already qualified for the next phase, which was the round of 32. It was a very, very tricky one, but then with the kind of experience or the kind of players the Netherlands boast of, you think that there is no team stopping them. But then that didn't happen. Morocco, the pride of Africa, eventually booted them out of the World Cup at round 32, where they drew and then went on penalties, and then Morocco eventually winning that particular match. So these are the top 3 disappointed teams or teams that disappointed me the most in this particular World Cup. Number 1, Ecuador. Number 2, Brazil. And then number 3, Netherlands. Now, away from most disappointing team, let's go to the most promising team, the team that surprised me the most, a team that wowed me. First off, we'll begin with Norway. Charlie, Norway. Wow, what a team. So Norway, proud to the World Cup, we didn't really see them as that big, but then after the World Cup, they've left a very, very huge map or very, very huge trademark, because this is the first time ever a Norwegian team is playing in the quarterfinals. You know, Haaland, a team led by Odegaard, Arsenal's Martin Odegaard. They came, they saw, they did very, 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 very well. They went all the way to the quarterfinals and then got kicked out by eventual third place finishers, England. You know, even that game had to travel to extra time. But then on their way to the semi-finals, quarterfinals, they met very, very, very big oppositions like France. They met Cote d'Ivoire as well. They met Belgium and then many others. But then they were able to glide through all the way to the quarterfinals. So Norway are the team that surprised me the most. And then away from Norway, we go to another team, Switzerland. Yes, the Swiss. They blew my mind. Though they didn't get any relatively huge or tough opposition proud to their way to the quarterfinals. But then, come on, there is no lesser team in this World Cup, this particular World Cup. We didn't see any team like a very, very small side that you can just have your way through. So they went all the way to the quarterfinals and then got beaten or suppressed by the relatively, if not the best, Argentina. Yes, Argentina, the finalist, this year's finalist, Argentina. And then that game had to travel to extra time as well, even a red card and stuff. So, yes, Switzerland, they surprised me very, 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 very much. Rodriguez and co, they did very, very, very well. Granit Xhaka, the very good old Granit Xhaka, leading the team and then setting an example for them. And then the last team has to do with Egypt. You know, Egypt, prior to this World Cup, they'd never won a game. They've never won a World Cup game. But then this time around, they went all the way to the round of 16, where they also got eliminated by Argentina. So meaning Egypt have set up a tone for themselves from not winning a game to going all the way to the round of 32 or round of 16, meaning it's something very, very, very remarkable for the African side. So Egypt, Norway, and then also Switzerland are my top picks for this particular World Cup. They are the team that surprised me the most. I've made up my points. I've come out with some teams. I know you may have disagreements and then also agree with me on some teams as well. So I don't know, whatever you think, let me hear from you in the comment section. Which teams were impressed you the most? Which teams also disappointed you the most? Do you think Ecuador should have done better? Or maybe that's just their level? Do you think certain teams like Egypt didn't do well, but then I'm just overhyping or overrating them? What do you feel about Norway? What do you feel about teams like the Netherlands, who got eliminated very early in the competition? What do you have to say about all this that I've mentioned? Let me hear from you in the comment section. My name is Kari. This is our media. Stick and stay with us and follow our content.